Let's talk about Teams. So in this session, we're going to talk a bit more about version 5 on Teams rooms.
Yeah.
So now we getting even better content inside the Teams rooms.
To be honest, this is also a bit about the Android because they also got this update for it in April, right? So
So this function is MTR OX.
OX. That's the new version.
So it is 4K.
4K content.
Exactly. Try to just run us through because, I mean, just so everybody's aware, we have 1080 right now.
Yeah.
What is the main difference between 1080 and 4K, and why is it so cool that we got 4K?
Yeah, maybe we should start off by saying it's only the content that will be in 4K.
Yeah.
So the video feed will still be in 1080p, but the 4K content really makes sense.
But it's also only local content, as far as I'm aware, right? So,
It's not
let's keep
video streams is not 4K.
No.
And the thing about 4K resolution is that you have much more on your screen. Things will look smaller.
That's a scaling problem.
That's true. But if you have a spreadsheet, you will have so many more lines you'll be able to see when you're sharing your content. And there will be. I have customers with have some geo things where they have maps. They need to have it up in a big scale. I have hospitals as well.
X-rays and
this is something for them, but we actually also need it for the possibilities to people in the other end to be able to see it in the same scale.
So it's the option to have more dots on a picture.
Yeah, I think like it will just look nicer. Of course, if you have a small screen, it doesn't really matter. But if you have a big screen, I would say
it's more crisp.
We come to the
above
86
65
inches.
inch. I would say, then it kind of makes sense to go with a 4K. Then it also make a better experience to sit and watch in the meeting room.
The thing is, at least in Europe, it's nearly impossible to find a 1080p screen. So all the screen manufacturers
it's
make
4K.
4K. So, and we actually seen that there has been a lot of issues, negotiation, the handshake between the screen and the system.
Yeah, I was going to say, what problems do we actually see? Because we used to talk about all the problems that we have with a 4K monitor and the 1080 resolution. Now what?
We used to have them where it made the scaling wrong. Sometimes you could not see the calendar because the scaling was way off. But now, when we're supporting the 4K and states it's going to scale itself, and I actually think for front row because you have a bigger resolution, right? So it will be more crisp pictures at the bottom.
Front row will really benefit from it.
Indeed, and you'll be able to maybe you can even make the size of the chat and the content and the reactions even better now because you have a higher resolution. So I know it's the same area of screen, but due to the higher resolution, you might be able to
look more clear.
I totally agree, especially when we see something like that the content is coming in with 1080p, the monitor is 1080p, so of course the content is scaled down to fit the screen. And we all know that in a front row, we have a lot of monitor space that are filled out with cool stuff, no doubt about it, but it eats some of the content area, especially when that's scaled. So 1080p content in a 4K monitor will definitly upgrade it.
I must be honest, I have seen some cases lately where we saw customers putting it's called bring your own device, but wireless transfer, the Miracast or something else in front of the MTR rooms. And now they got these big ass resolution on the laptops. And when you shared your screen, it was stretching, it was doing different type of things. So the lines was not straight. So when we go into the 4K local sharing, you will have straight lines, you will have a really nice view, and it's first when we go above 4K, you will have something. I really think this is going to be a major thing. Unfortunately, a lot of Windows systems out there, they have an EDID minder in between, which is making the 1080p handshake instead of a 4K handshake. And
fix a lot of problems. I mean, that was the go-to device if things are not...
Exactly, and and they don't benefit now from the 4K resolution.
You need to remove that one. That's a very
Exactly.
important note. That
Yeah. No, yes. I mean, if back in the days, and I mean that was yesterday. Often we install the edit minder, and that kind of locks the system down to 1080p. So if you want to have the benefit of the 4K, you need to remove that one. If you did the script of keeping your system on 1080p, that was mandatory for Teams rooms on Windows. If you wanted to use a front row layout, now you need to go and change that to have the benefit of the 4K.
And there's also another thing, and I actually think that the whiteboarding stuff, if you're doing it local, I'm actually pretty sure that one will be 4K as well. And
yeah, that would look nice as well.
That will look nice, and the most touchscreens, they're designed for 4K resolution, so it will be a much nicer handwriting you're gonna have, because it can
it won't help anyone.
No.
but it makes perfect sense, and especially now that, I mean, we don't want to put too much on Copilot because this is Teams, but when you get Copilot for whiteboard, it makes perfect sense, because if people are investing in a license like that, they also expect that things should look nice. And especially the places where we put them, it's collaborative, and boardrooms probably where we will see them a lot. And we just want a crystal clear writing. I mean,
indeed,
it cannot help you with move the pen, but it can try to make it looks nice.
And for instance, the Surface Hub in MTR version, that's running 4K in the whiteboard, right? So it's there, and it's really nice and everything. So why not go that direction? I'm not sure about this, but I don't think you'll be able to run a dual screen 4K on both screens. Have you thought about that? Have you?
I think it
probably depends on the PC, but I guess it should be. It is possible.
It depends on the hardware, right?
Yeah.
Because
I think some that was on the tip of running Windows 11 that just upgraded, they might have some problems running.
But what happens
4K
if you're
monitor.
running a 32:9 in a setup? Those screens will not be able to run 4K.
Why not?
Because some manufacturers don't have two 4K output.
Oh, you mean from the PC output? Yeah.
So
of course, the PC needs to support the two dual
I think
4K
the
outputs.
biggest problem here, maybe it will just set the framing rate low if you put it already do that if you're putting more into it. And I mean that is a Windows operating system function.
Yeah.
But it is a good question to need to.
But it's something that's I'm really happy that they have come out with this update, and I'm pretty sure that at some point when they're releasing the new AV1 codec or something.
And AV1, that's the codec for content sharing.
Yeah, that's the content sharing part. I really hope they can bring in 4K to that one as well, and they bring it onto the Teams rooms, because then we will be able to have the benefit of the 4K screens.
We are talking a lot about 4K and how excited we are, and it's not a problem. One thing we need to bear in mind here, that in the European and some of the American places, bandwidth is not a problem. Asia, it's not, but we still have some places out in the world where we have problems, and we need. I mean, right now, what we're getting now doesn't put any more workload on the network. Just for emphasizing that, that's only monitoring locally. But when we begin to talk about AV1 that might support 4K when we're content sensor, we just need to remember it puts a heavy load on the network. We're going for some 1080p streams that kind of okay. We can live that in a couple of 4-2 megabit per second. We add that up in a completely different way. So I mean, if you begin having 50 meeting rooms running 4K contents full blown, you might want to upgrade that hub you have under the desk.
That's true.
But another thing that I was wondering about, let's say we have a PC that runs dual 4K. We want to do a front row, but if you don't change the resolution and you still keep it on 100%, then I guess the chat and the raise hands will be very, very small. So you probably need to play around with what kind of scaling function should have. So
you still need to change that in the Skype XML file or somewhere else. To have it stored on the system. And I see more and more signature rooms being asked for, but it's not plenty. But
there's more demand. It makes sense. It is
Yeah.
a nice.
it's in
type
those
of
scenarios
meeting room,
where
yeah.
this will come in hand. But
And you do have a 4K edit monitor if you want to go that way.
Indeed.
So I think, yeah, it will be quite interesting to have those workarounds and play
There
with
are some
it.
testing we need to do to see how that works and come up with, and yeah.
Yeah, and definitely, I wasn't really thinking about the limitations on PCs with non-dual.
That would be
Yeah.
some part that
Yeah.
I could really see that people they have purchased the Teams room system, let's say 2 years ago, and now they're just thinking, okay, we can run dual 4K screen.
and
so
the-
what's capable of here? So
It will be interesting because it's no secret that there are a lot of companies coming up with cheap Windows meeting room devices that makes perfect sense. I think it's what is it, i3 processor or something like that. When will that handle? I mean, if we put 4K content into a monitor, that kind of puts something on the graphic cards.
Indeed, yeah.
If we upgrade that and look a little ahead and say, now we begin to have 4K content. We don't have that yet. It's just a thought about it. That will also kind of put the requirement of.
But I actually think the smaller entry level, let's call them that, they only have one screen output.
They're one, but you still have begin to talk about 4K output instead of 1080. That puts more on the graphic card.
Yeah.
If we begin to also put 4K content on top of that.
Yes.
I mean, I love the small form factor. I really love those small entries PC. It's no doubt about it, but it's something that we also should bear in mind when we are talking about 4K. That it puts a heavy load on everything.
Yeah, at least you need, as a customer, you need to go and check with your manufacturer what is actually possible on the
what
devices.
can you do exactly?
So if
you
it's
Teams is a stupid meeting platform, doesn't well, it can only do what the hardware actually allows you to do. So
and that's kind of the part when Microsoft offboard that to other manufacturers. So now it's the customer's decision. To choose the platform that they want to work with, but they also need to look at what are the differences between the different hardware stuff.
And maybe there's no issue at all.
Yeah,
so
it's probably just need to make sure that you have that in mind when you are upgrading to version 5 and make sure that, okay, why don't I see what I expect? Well, maybe it's because you have a little dongle you need to remove. Maybe it's because you have locked something in your Skype XML file. Maybe you locked something in your Windows for screen. It sometimes works.
Plenty of stuff. So
just need to make sure. And
or even worse, that you have one screen with 4K and one screen in 1080p.
That would actually be really, really.
And that could be the result of having a PC with not enough power with two monitors on, because it will have a primary and secondary monitor.
Or maybe let's say you actually have a dongle on one screen and
not
on
the
the other
one.
one. So this one will be 4K. So it's.
And you need to look into that, because you might not be the one who installed. You might be the owner of the meeting rooms, but you might start in a job and somebody else has done it. So you have a lot of stuff to see if 4K is not working as expected. I mean.
You start a new job and now you're responsible for the Teams rooms. There you go, it's your issue. Need to go and check each and every one of them. Okay, with that said, let's talk about Teams. Thanks a lot for watching. See you out there.